Well, good morning. Another edition of West Florida Locks educational videos. Today we're going to be going through the process of rekeying. This particular lock that you see in front of you is known as a mortise cylinder. You can see the grooves, how it screws into the door. Aluminum style door, usually a business that has an aluminum style door that screws into the side of it, and this cam here is called Adams Rite cam that fits into an Adams Rite lock set, and when you put the key in, it turns that cam one way or the other to open the lock. So we're going to be removing this cylinder and showing you the process of rekeying. Over here you will see the pinning kit that we use, made by LabCorp. This is a 5/1000 pinning kit. Each one of these pins represent a size and a number. And if we're looking at Kwikset as an example, you've got 1 through 7, and 1 represents 170 thousandths all the way down to 6 for 285 thousandths. And we'll be showing you the process of taking the old pins out of the lock and putting in the new pins with a new working key. So let's get started. We'll stick this over here. And hopefully you can excuse me, see the area that I'll be working in here, my little pinning station. These are the keys that work the lock now. This is Kwikset. You can see the actual cam turning as I spoke about earlier, and here are the grooves that screw into the side of the door. This little slot here and here, and there's one on this side as well. When you screw this in, you stop at a certain point, and there's a set screw that goes into the edge of this particular cylinder lock, and it stops it from turning. And that's how you know that you're in the right position. We'll do another video on that at a later date. So let's get started. We'll have to get these two little screws off in the back. So I've got a screwdriver handy here. I'll take these screws, screw them off. Very important not to lose these. I carry extras for that reason, but they're not your normal screw. You can see how tiny that screw is. Very small. Take the other one off. Like that. Put that here, and then you remove the cam. Cam fits down in the back of the plug. The anatomy of a lock is basic in almost every lock. You have what we call a plug, which has the pins in it. That goes in here, in the back of there. And then you have bottom pins and top pins. The top of this lock, there's a set of pins with springs in them. And in this plug, there's another set of pins. When you put that key in to operate, it matches the shear line, which is here. And I'll show you that when I take this lock out. So this bottom pin and top pin will match when I put in, and that's what turns the lock. Now what we're going to do, we're going to be careful not to dump these pins, and this is called a plug follower. We will take this in here. We will push this through, as you can see. And now we have successfully taken the plug out, and here is the plug with the bottom pins with the key in it. Let me set this down. You can see how smooth that is. So when that key goes in, it turns smoothly because it's the right key. So look what happens when I take this out. They all drop down. Now let's take another set of keys with another set of numbers and watch what happens. Actually, that's not the right key. Let's see. We can use this one over here. That one didn't work too well. Here's another quick set key. Put that in there. Now you see these pins are raised. So when you put this key back into there and try to put this key in, those will go up into the top pins and they'll be jagged, so the key won't turn, as opposed to the key that goes with it. See how smooth they are. So excuse me, we take all these pins out, and then we take the new key and repin that lock to this key number and the corresponding numbers. If that first one is a 1, then you grab a 1 out of there. If the first one is a 2, you grab a number 2, which is 195 thousandths. These are various sizes of pins, and just to give you an idea how small a number 1 is, that's a number 1. I don't know if you can see that or not. Very small. Or if you have a number 7 or 6, that's 285 thousandths. See the size of that pin? It's a lot larger. So all these pins correspond to the grooves and the cuts. Now it's important to know when you're doing a key, we're going to show the process of duplication and cutting by what we call code. There is the shoulder. That's where it goes into the lock and stops. And there's measurements from that shoulder to that first cut, to the second cut, to the third cut, the fourth, and of course the fifth. And then here is the tip of the key. There's the milling that goes in strictly for quick set. And you notice how it's curved. You take that key and match it up to a Schlage key, which is here. Milling is different. It's got 2 extra set millings. The shape of the head of the key, which can fool you because they look different. Let's see the ends of it, how that is configured differently. So you can't take a Schlage and put it into a quick set lock, and you can't take a quick set lock and put it into a Schlage lock. They're not made to fit. So you have to get the right keyway. You have to get the pins to match up at the shear line. And this is where the shear line is, right here. Top pins up here, bottom pins, and then the springs on the top of the top pins. So as I put this key back in, okay, as if we just changed it out, we put it in the side, front of the plug, we shove it back in. Now the plug is out, it's back in, and now the lock turns. So we'll assemble this back, attach the cam back to the lock. Very important to screw these in straight so you don't cross thread them. If you cross thread them and mess the screw up, it'll not only ruin the screw, but it'll ruin the lock body, and you'll have to throw it away. You don't want to do that. Perfectly good lock. It's a brand new lock. This has a little, you can't see it, but there's a little, like a blue mark on there. That's to keep it from backing out. A little, like a tape on it, liquid. Kind of holds it in, keeps it from vibrating loose. I'll make sure those are tight. You put the working key back in. You can see it's turning. Let me demonstrate when you put a key that does not fit. Now it won't turn. Working key back in. It turns. Okay, so let's we'll put this one back up. A little storage place here where I store all my mortise locks. Next item we're going to go over is this, it's similar to a mortise lock. You notice it doesn't have the grooves on it, but it's got a tailpiece on it. This tailpiece has little markings on it because there's different size doors and different, so you can actually break these off. If this is too long, you can break off what you need. So when this goes into the door, this goes into the back of a panic bar or a latch of some sort. And most of the time you will see a rim cylinder, which this is what it is. It's got a key the same way. It operates the same way. Has the grooves on the locks the same way. Has top pins, bottom pins. And the configuration is a little different. This is called an LSA restricted keyway. This keyway is a little different, and such that it protects the business owner or the homeowner from somebody copying the key. Only locksmiths can do that. So that's how that works. Similar to the mortise cylinder, but different in such a way that it's a different configuration on the door and allows a panic device or a latch. Usually 99% of these on commercial application, but there's a rim cylinder. Then you have another device that goes on the back of the lock. This is called a thumb turn. If you notice, it looks very similar to the lock that we took apart and rekeyed. It's got the Adams Rite cam on it with the 2 screws. The thumb turns. It's got the grooves where it screws in. It's got the slot where the set screw holds it into the lock so it can't be backed out. And this would be on the inside of a door. You'll see these in almost every commercial retail store, unless it's a double lock, and then that would be the same as the front lock. You would put a key in to turn it, but this particular one is a manual thumb turn, and that's screwed in, opens the door, locks the door, the same as a key, but usually on the inside. So there's that. And then this is just another one. Another thumb turn. A different color. It operates the same way. Okay. Have that there. Okay, this particular one is also a mortise cylinder, has the grooves, but this is called a dummy cylinder. You notice there's no key that goes in here. This is to seal the door off, that somebody wants to not have a key entry. Maybe has a thumb turn on the inside so they can open and close it and lock it from the inside. But the outside, no one can put a key in because there's no key space there. So that screws into the lock mechanism. Same as the other one. It's a mortise cylinder. But there's no cam and there's no key. So that's referred to as a dummy plug or a dummy lock. Alrighty. Now there's different keyways for different situations. Kwikset and Schlage are the most common. Most people represent the little K in the Kwikset, but sometimes there's a large bow and there's no reading, no K1. K1 is referred to as Kwikset. 5-pin cut, but you have to go by the milling on the side, and you have to go by the configuration on the end of the tip. That's how you determine what keyway it is. Same thing with the Schlage that we had earlier over here. Schlage has a different keyway. It has an extra set of millings on the side. Okay, it still has a shoulder, but the head usually is triangular, or it could be rounded. Again, you have to refer to the end piece, known as the tip of the lock, and the configuration of how it goes into the lock, whether it would be a Schlage, a Kwikset, it could be Sargent, Corbin Russen makes one, Weiser makes one, Yale, Arrow, all kinds of different keyways that go into the lock. So you have to have the right keyway and the pinning stations to pin the right lock into the right key. Alrighty, what we're going to do now is put this back up. This is where we put our keys in for our customers. It says West Florida Locks, the phone number, and my name. And on the reverse side, you can put the information, the actual cuts, and the location of where the key is going, such as a front door, back door, garage door, mailbox key, anything that you'd like to write into this space. It's available for the customer to have marking and, of course, identification. We put our tools back. Let me show you this. This is referred to as a key gauge. This one's made by ProLock, and that shows Kwikset at the top here, Schlage, Weiser, and then Westlock. These are just different keyways, different manufacturers. And you notice the numbers on here, 1 through 7. Schlage has, 0 through 9. Weiser 0 through 9, and Westlock is 0 through 10. Each one of these grooves, when they slide that key in, tells you the number. So you pull it back. I'll demonstrate it here. This is the Kwikset. Okay, that's a 3. There's another 3. That's a 4, almost a 4. It's halfway between. And then a 2. So you write those numbers down onto your pad, and then if you're questioning whether it's the right pin, these are gauges for Kwikset and for Schlage, and you notice the size of the different pins. These are measured in 5,000 increments. Okay, so a 5 on a Schlage is 240, and on a Kwikset it's the same, but it's a number 4. So it's just the measurement. So those are just gauges to help to assist you to measure the right pins if you're in question whether the pins are correct or not. Now let's pick this up. We'll take this over to the rest of the equipment. This is referred to as an HPC machine, known as a Blitz. And I don't know if you can see this card or not. Let's see if we can make it clear. It's not coming out real clear here. Anyway, over here, it reads Kwikset large pinning. It tells you the cutter up here is a CW14C. The cutter is over here on the side, right here. There's the shoulder guide that puts in to line the key up. So when you put the blank in here, it lines up like this. And that's very important to line the key up so when you go to cut it, everything matches. And I'll demonstrate if you're doing a 5-pin cut. There's the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Up here is your depth. This is what makes the key cut to a certain depth: a 1, then a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, 6, and a 7. So when you cut the first one, say the first one is a 1, you put it on number 1 for the first station. Then you move it to the second station, second space. Get that right. And say the next one is a 3. Then you move to the third spot. The next one is a 2. So you run your needle up to a 2. It'll cut it to the 2 depth. Same thing with fourth position and of course the fifth. So each time you move the slot over in the key and you cut the depth of the number that it is. Now you can get those depths by measuring the key gauge that I showed you earlier, or you can just make numbers up, which I do from periodically time, or if I have a code, and the code will say 43523 and you would move the stations to its appropriate numbers. That's called cut by code. That's why they call it a code machine. It has a little buffer to clean the wheel off. You've got different wheels for different applications, different keys. So that's called a code machine, and this is referred to as the duplicator. All this does is duplicate a key. You put the existing key here, you gauge it with the gauge on there, and then you put a blank over here. So if the distance between here and here with this gauge, then everything that is cut here through this pointer will be cut right over here. Lost my key. And there's the cutter. So the cutter just copies or duplicates what's here, will duplicate over here as long as you have it set up. And there's a buffer wheel and a little light there. You know, it's important to have this equipment. This equipment is the livelihood of a locksmith. Without this equipment, I won't say it's impossible to do it, but it's a lot easier when you have the right equipment. You can see, you know, various tools. These are tweezers and plug followers and pointers, screwdrivers. Up here you have all the storage of different keys that I have. Ones that come out of levers on commercial buildings, deadbolts. Okay, there's some stock, some key stock there. Up here is the lab pins, different size lab pins. In the center there is mailbox locks. You know, when people need mailbox locks cut out. Down here we have storage for extra tools. This is something that's interesting. These are little wood plugs. We do replacement of handle sets, or they're called pitcher handles. Those are the ones you see that are configured like a pitcher handle. You grab it, it's got a little latch thumb. You push that latch, the latch retracts. It's not a lock, it's just designed to open and close the door. Sometimes we replace those with, say, a knob like that or a lever, and the hole below where it screws in is left open. So we take these little dowels, we take wood glue, we put the wood glue on it, we stick it on there. You know, sometimes we'll sand it down, paint it. Sometimes the customer does it, depending on their skill and ability to want to do it, with maybe repaint the door or something. They want to do that themselves. Here is a all kinds of screws that you would see in here. for the mortise cylinders that I talked about earlier. Now this is something that's important. This is called a steel protector ring. The mortise cylinder goes down in here, goes flat up against the door, so someone can't take a pair of pliers and wring that mortise cylinder off with that set pin going to the side. There's a set pin in there, set screw, and this goes around so the mortise cylinder fits inside here and goes flat up against the door. So this spins around and leaves the mortise cylinder inside untouched. A little security ring. We have them in different colors. We store that in here. And you know, just little things that we use for the door to help the customer out. You know, get security. We have storage keys in there that are pre-cut. We've got drills. Here's a light that we use for lockouts on a windshield at night. There's a light that comes on over here in this side of the van. Probably hard to see it, but they're tools that we use for lockouts. When someone's locked out of their car, we use that to gain access into it. Over here is an inverter that turns on and runs off the battery of the vehicle, and then it inverts, takes 12 volts and turns it into 110, so we can run, you know, this machine and the duplicator, and of course the lights. I've got lights all over that will run off that inverter. Or if I need to grind something, I've got a grinder down here underneath, as well as storage parts for knobs and deadbolts. And there's a lot of parts involved in a lock. So we use all the storage spaces to store that. Over here on this side, down below, this is where we store new inventory. These are deadbolt locks, different manufacturer, Kwikset and Schlage, and then knobs down below. Let me show you this. We'll pull this out on the bench. This is what I spoke about earlier with the mortise cylinder. This is an 1 1/8" deadbolt. You'll see this little cover. It's got 3 screws on it, excuse me. And that one's for aluminum. This is Durnotic color, which you see on a lot of doors. And this is what fits into the door. This is a deadbolt. A little flag, it pops up. And there's the hole for the mortise cylinder. Remember this, me telling you about the little screw right there? Okay. There's a screw. Get a better look there. And that screws in that hole. That screw holds it from turning. And that's where the thumb goes on the inside. And the opposite side is where the keyed lock goes in. Okay. So that's used mostly in commercial. Almost 90% of the time. Alrighty, so that concludes this section of training. We'll have other training videos, live videos on customer properties, showing you taking locks off, repinning them, or any special lockouts, picking locks, various videos that we'll do. I would like to thank you for watching this video. You're watching this video via a phone, and we will be putting this on YouTube. The name of the company is West Florida Locks, LLC. It can be reached at 813-541-7688, and we pretty much can help you out with your locksmith needs. We cover commercial, residential, auto, and then, of course, safes, closed-circuit TVs, and access control. Thank you very much, and have a great day.